On this episode of the InsurTech Geek podcast, we're talking about balancing innovation with ethics and workers' comp with Skip Brechtel from CCMSI. The InsurTech Geek podcast is all about technology that's transforming and disrupting the insurance world. We'll be interviewing guests and doing deep dives into specific tech we see changing the industry. We're taking you on a journey through insurance tech, so enjoy the ride and geek out. Terra, this week's episode sponsor, is revolutionizing the world of workers' compensation claims and policy management. Terra's cutting-edge platform empowers insurers with comprehensive benchmarking tools, robust management systems, and an integrated ancillary services marketplace. Discover how Terra is driving innovation and efficiency in workers' comp at terra.insure. That's terra.insure. And we are back with another great episode. With me, my illustrious co-host, the most interesting man in insurance, Rob Galbraith. Rob, how are you doing?
Doing well, James. We've made it to fall. It's hard to imagine, but it's
Yes.
it's gonna be 2025 soon. So yeah, kind of crazy time for sure.
Yes, there's people everywhere seeking out the spice, the pumpkin spice. I feel like it's like an episode of Dune, you know, where they're like, "We must get the spice." If someone can send me like a meme with like Dune and pumpkin spice, I'm gonna try and find one because that's gonna get posted as we record this. It's Monday, September 23rd, 2024, which means it's officially fall. The weather does feel a little more fallish. Texas is still warm, but I can tell you, I was just up in the Northeast this past weekend, and it was definitely feeling like fall up there. And you know, we're well into the season. Skip, it was with us, Skip Brechtel from CCMSI. Skip, how are you doing?
Doing great today, James. I appreciate the opportunity. After five years to get back on the podcast.
I know. So for those who are following, Skip was the very first guest on this podcast. Episode 1 was just me talking. Episode 2 was the first guest, and it was Skip, and we talked about predictive analytics. We're still talking about AI 5 years later, but we're talking. It's really made a lot of advances since then, and so super excited to have Skip. He's in New Orleans, the New Orleans area, technically Metairie. Skip, the Saints didn't have the best day yesterday.
Tough one. They got control at the end of the game and let it slip away in the last 2 minutes. It was a tough loss.
It was a tough loss. But I can tell you, they look good as a team. They had what it took to try and to march it back and to take the lead, and then.
That they're far exceeding their expectations of what the year started as. So that's a good thing. So everybody in New Orleans is pumped.
Yeah, exactly. Because
LSU won.
Yep.
So another good weekend. Overall a good weekend.
Yeah, exactly. It's a good weekend. Aggies won barely. So it's all good. And the Cowboys lost, which always makes me happy. I love watching Jerry Jones cry into his sad little hands. When he just shake. I love like the summary videos is him just shaking his head. like
you reap what you sow.
Exactly. And he keeps sowing it and sowing it and sowing it. Oh my goodness. So yeah, we're actually I'm super excited about our conversation today. Certainly we've had a lot of interviews and discussions around AI, but we're not just talking about AI. We're just talking about the use of data in general for decision making. AI is just another tool, right? Like we've been using data to make decisions for a very long time. And so we're going to talk about that. Because it's been 5 years and you were last on episode 2, and this is, I think, episode 146, I believe. Let's do a quick recap on who you are, because I always love talking about the people behind insurance. We've had some just amazing people on this show, but none more amazing to me personally than Skip. And here's why: because Skip taught me everything I know about workers' comp, about account management, about stewardship meetings. I can run through the laundry list of all the things Skip taught me, but it's not just me. there are so many people in this industry that count Skip as a mentor in their life because he just naturally mentors people and brings them in and says, here, let me tell you what you got to do. And then you better listen. You better listen. So Skip is the EVP and he's in charge of strategic partnerships for CCMSI. CCMSI is the largest privately owned TPA in the country because the other ones, have all sold and are part of private equity groups or larger conglomerates. So they're the largest. They're an ESOP. They're employee owned. They're a much bigger company than 5 years ago or 10 years ago, but they keep growing in size. Skip's been there for a very, very long time. He was part of that merger. He was an owner of one of the companies, got merged in to form CCMSI. But Skip, I want to hear from you because we did a personal background 5 years ago, but we're going to go ahead and just do a brief personal background again. You were born and raised in New Orleans, correct?
Born and raised in New Orleans. Accountant with a minor in computer science. Love statistics, numbers. I'm an old numbers nerd. Guy. So always believed that data lies very infrequently. So I've used it as a tool to help me progress throughout my career. Been in insurance well over 30 years now. It's still having a ball. I'm an older guy, but still love what I'm doing. Think that there's lots of the future for utilizing technology in insurance space is awesome because they were a late player to the game and utilizing all the data they had to help drive better decisions. So, again, I'm excited to talk about some of this stuff today.
Yeah, I think, insurance was a late player to utilizing the data, but not really necessarily a late player to actually originating and collecting the data. It just...
Oh, no. Right.
Yeah, they were actually early adopters of mainframe systems and AS400s and IBM RS6000s. And we could run through all the systems that they purchased because they were quick to get off of paper, but then slow to adopt tools that would actually tap into these treasure troves of decades of information, right?
Correct. And again, I started seeing that change, James, around 2016. AI started coming in other industries much more so. And we actually, our session 2, we turned on our first predictive analytics AI tool in July of 2019. And it's been an extremely successful tool for us. And again, I think it also gives clients a comfort level that basically we're looking for variances, right? Where the adjuster and the AI might have differences. And where there's those variances, we think the adjuster, the supervisor, and the client should review it. Artificial intelligence is not always right. You have high confidence levels on certain areas, but really where there is a differentiator or a difference, you need to scope it out. Maybe the adjuster's right, maybe the AI is correct, but then you modify your thought process after you've done further review.
Yeah. So let's I love that thought process. And we're definitely going to talk about that because, there still has to be human decision-making in the insurance industry
Absolutely.
For the foreseeable future. But I mean, you've been making human decisions in insurance for over 3 decades. What drew you? You're primarily a work comp guy. I mean, you understand other lines, right? You've done administration for general liability. You've done administration for property and auto. And I mean,
our company does about 140,000, almost 150,000 work comp claims a year, but we also do probably like 80,000 liability claims.
Yeah.
So, but I did, sink my teeth, if you would, in self-insured groups and more on the workers' comp end.
What drew you to that?
Well, I was actually with a broker that had a small TPA, and we ran 3 large self-insured governmental accounts that had high self-insured retentions, And it just made so much sense to me. If you put the proper loss control, if you do all of the right things, and it really led to our clients getting much more involved and proactive in managing their risk management program. And when you do that, you're going to drive better outcomes. And so we're able to save our clients a bunch of money. So in my accounting background, that immediately made sense to me that this was a potentially better alternative than just a straight guaranteed cost program.
Look, I hadn't thought to ask you this before. Of all of the thousands of hours of conversations that we've had, I've never asked you this, but are we actually better at adjudicating claims than 30 years ago? Like, are we actually producing lower loss ratios? I mean, have we gotten better at insurance?
Yeah, my answer to that would be yes. Okay. Overall, I think we have. One of the problems right now, and again, this will lead into some of our further conversations on the utilization of AI. In the old years, the insurance carriers did a tremendous job of training adjusters. They trained adjusters up, and that has sort of gone by the wayside now. And so in the old days, you had adjusters with a lot of experience. They were very technical, totally paper driven, right? I mean, big old stacks of paper files that were real high. That has evolved, but I think with that, utilizing technology has helped, I think, drive better outcomes. Now, from a comp perspective, we've seen loss frequency go down, which to me shows we're doing a better job of loss control and risk management. But on the flip side, severity is still a problem. We still have very bad claims, and those claims can be very, very costly.
Yeah, but like frequency's down, and then right now, like rates are down, right? In comp?
Oh, rates are down, I'd say half in many comp programs. And that's a tribute to the comp industry. You know, the comp industry in the 80s and 90s, experience mods and rates were really off the charts. And that is really what spurred a lot of clients to go sort of a self-funded or a large deductible program, because they wanted to take more control of their program to drive lower costs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and they've been successful in driving lower costs. I mean, if they hadn't have been, rates wouldn't have done what they've done, right?
Correct.
All right, Rob?
So Skip, I'm just curious, maybe you can talk a little bit about the impact that technology has had over the years. And I'm specifically curious, we certainly see the impact that technology has in terms of making processes more efficient, right? Reducing the amount of labor, but that also means, right, adjusters have to handle a higher workload. We've seen it in terms of the data, as you mentioned before, right? Really getting granular, getting very specific, and then feeding that back into loss control programs that are giving you more and more insights to clients, right? To help them reduce losses and result in the lower frequency that you mentioned. And then just improving the customer experience, like just getting more real-time, updates in terms of the status of claims, both from the client and from the adjuster standpoint. And just, maybe particularly when you're talking about work comp, right, where they may not be the initial customer. Working with the injured workers different than working for the employer, different than working with some of the medical providers and other folks that you have to deal with, right? And so just kind of making that like a better experience all the way around for all the various parties. So just curious, where have you seen the impact the most over the years?
Well, it's interesting, Rob, because it's good and bad. This is many years ago. It was paper. You get a letter. The adjuster could respond to that 4 or 5 days. The paper files were yay thick, and it evolved from paper, the fax, which then speeded up the response time. And then, as we get more technologically down the line, now, people are looking for instant information back. They either call you, they text you, they email you, however they want to communicate. And everybody's looking for data and responses right away. So thank God for technology, because the technology has improved the adjuster's ability to respond quicker, right? So that's been really beneficial. And now we've got all of this great data, that all of the data that they're capturing, it does drive a lot of underwriting decisions, loss control decisions, et cetera. So, from my perspective, we're going to still see more of that. I have really been spending a ton of time now with a lot of our strategic vendor partners I want real-time data back, as quickly as possible, so my adjusters can make the best decisions much sooner. For instance, in the old days or whatever, a PT, he's assigned, he goes to PT, you would get a very technical document back from the clinician, and you get a bill back, okay? But if that claimant has a bad attitude, they really don't want to return to work, which they sort of share with the clinician, or they're not making clinical progression, we need to know that, and we have the ability now through API and web service to get that information pretty much real time, which then, it's much easier to identify the claims that are problematic. 80% of the claims flow fairly smoothly through the system. It's the 20% that really costs the 80%. So helping the adjuster identify those, better manage those, technology is doing a great job.
I mean, your goal is to get the worker back to work and to be healthy, right? Like that's the whole goal of this.
James, I was having a conversation last week. I was at a vendor partners strategic advisory meetings, and as much as we, as adjusters, preach that we're an advocate for the claimant, we're trying to get them healthy, get them back to work as soon as possible. The insurance, the perception of adjusters, be it, property damage or windstorm or auto adjusters, where, the claimant feels like the company's trying to take advantage of them. That's really not the case in work comp, that we're trying to, not really fully take care and help that claimant along as quickly as possible. But there's that doubt in that claimant's mind that the adjuster's always advocating for them.
Yeah, and so a big part of that is utilizing modern technology as well to accelerate the communication, right? Because when they don't get communicated with well, they also that sows those seeds of doubt as well, And
well,
so
5 years ago, no one really used texting at all to communicate with claimants. That's now becoming an important tool, if you would, for adjusters, because so much of the world, at least my kids, the only way I communicate with them is they don't use email anymore. They use text. That's just the way it is. And I think so much of society has moved in that direction.
Yeah. That's just one of many tools, but it's an important one. And so there has been a lot of technological innovation to try and speed up communication. Because look, I mean, consumer expectations are for immediate response to everything. I mean, if you look across the board, when you order pizza now, they're using some of the most sophisticated systems on the planet, right? Like when you order a pizza, they have it's a very sophisticated supply chain and logistics program. They have text message updates. They got a mobile app. They have a GPS tracker on the delivery car. They tell you the progress of your pizza through the oven. This is what claimants are used to dealing with every single day, is that they know every shipment and when it's going to be there, and a photo of the package by their door, and when it's going to be, where the delivery truck is with their package, and when it's going to be at their house. Same thing with DoorDash, the same thing with pizza, the same thing with, I mean, you name it. They've got online tracking, text message updates, GPS tracking. And so there is an expectation that is created by their consumer experience when they get into a commercial experience with something like workers' comp insurance, where they expect that same level of customer service, same level. But, the challenge, and really, I think in technology, is always balancing the use. And that's actually what the title of the talk was, is balancing ethics with technology, because we have a moral and ethical standard to meet in workers' compensation, because we're dealing with injured workers. We're trying to restore them, right? We're trying to truly the definition of indemnify, right? To bring them back to the original state. Ideally, maybe a little better. If you have a good loss control program, hopefully you're actually doing a stretch and flex program at work in the morning, and actually the workers are getting more flexible, and they're actually becoming 1% better every day. That would be the ideal, right? Is you actually make people better, you help them become better, and but we do have an ethical standard, and so that means that we're also trying to offload tasks from adjusters that aren't human facing, so they can focus on the humans and coach and guide and be the advocate for the customer, right? And so there's a lot of stuff that adjusters still have to do that's not related to soft touch. There's a lot of manual work. And so where do you think we're at with getting that offloaded off the adjuster's back so they can really focus on the people?
Well, again, that's an interesting question, because clients, and rightfully so, they're trying to better manage their program. So they're constantly pushing to collect more new, different kinds of data, right? And so as we're trying to give the adjuster more freedom to make those calls that you're talking about and better manage the claimant, we're also asking this, to capture many more data fields and information. Quite honestly, comp is a state jurisdictional issue, right? And every state has different requirements for what information they want, what EDI reporting they want, and the adjusters have to capture all of this. And the states are asking for more and more information. Well, that takes, adjusters putting in all this information. It takes time away from them to, to do the really good blocking and tackling with the claimant to make them feel warm and fuzzy that the claim is moving along correct. So, again, it's one of those catch-22s. We love the data, but we're asking people to put more data in, which creates more of a time constraint on the adjuster. So it's a true balancing act. It's one we deal with every day, quite honestly. What can we do to take off the adjuster to make them be as efficient and as productive as possible? And as you do that, then you're getting new requirements put on, through Center for Medicaid, Medicare compliance, all these other features that, again, add additional work that they never had in the past.
Yeah, but you're kind of in a vice as a TPA, because the regulators are demanding substantially more data. The carriers are demanding substantially more data. The provider, everyone around a TPA is demanding not just a little bit more data. They all want all the data fields. They want everything collected.
Well, the carriers that actually are administering their own claims, they're dealing with the same things, right? And so their technology constraints are becoming more and more difficult. Actually, that's why you're seeing more and more carriers looking at outsourcing their claims administration, because to keep up with the technology and the reporting and everything that's needed, it's a constant investment. We invest millions of dollars each year. I mean, we've got close to 1,900 employees now, handling all these different claims. The technology to keep that going and then to keep improving to meet those needs, it's a major investment.
Skip, I'm kind of, it's great to have you back. Obviously, I wasn't part of the initial conversation with James, but learning that you were the first guest ever, and that you guys were talking about predictive analytics and AI 5 years ago. I'm curious, maybe you can just, for folks like myself that, weren't, didn't happen to hear that initial conversation you had with James. What was the original goal? What was the vision that you had? And then now 5 years later, what have you learned? Where has it maybe met your expectations? Where did you see it advancing? And then where is it falling short, or maybe, has it maybe fulfilled its full promise in your view?
Well, Rob, it's interesting. Back in 2014, what we did internally is in the adjuster's recorded statement that they took, we added 78 additional data fields. We wanted to know the pain threshold. We wanted to know, their thought on their probability of return rate. We captured all these. We'd ask height and weight. We calculate comorbidities, because all of this has an impact, right? And at the time, what we were trying to identify is claims that had the potential early on to be a potentially high-risk claim, i.e., they were obese, they had diabetes, they had previous surgery to that body part. They, on a scale of 1 to 10, they said, I think I have a 1 out of 10 chance in going back to work. Knowing that early, that would help the adjuster identify this as a potential problematic claim. Now, that evolved, but the good news is that those early data fields, when we went to predictive analytics, we had much more specific identifiable fields, right, that could make predictions. As time has continued to evolve, we pushed every file note, we pushed every medical bill. All of that went in, and the AI could read the adjuster's file notes. They could get the medical information that they needed, et cetera. What's really coming into play now, right, is the open AI and the chat GPT. It's going to really help, I think, where technology can actually read these PDF documents and read all this other data that we get sent to us that has a wealth of information. The models, I can tell you from 2019 to 2024, the models keep getting tighter, right? Because the data set we have has about, 35 to 40 million claims in it. So, and over 5 years, the models get better and better, the confidence levels. So the next step, I think, is being able to analyze even more data, right? That comes in what I'll call a non-data format to basically, again, just support or enhance the decision making. So, but it's never going to replace the human. You need a human to take that data, analyze it, compare it, and then make good decisions from it. It's a tool, and it's a very effective tool that should be utilized.
Yeah, I mean, just because we can automate the vast majority of items in a cockpit of an airplane doesn't mean we want to replace the pilots. When it's the same thing at your desk, right? Like, just because you have the technical ability to automate a lot of tasks doesn't mean that it's a wise move. What you're actually trying to do is elevate the human to a decision-making role, an executive decision-making role, and of course, human to human contact. Because I don't care how good ChatGPT is. I don't care how good it is at talking to people in text, or even it's speech to text and text to speech, where you can actually speak to it. I want to still work through serious issues with a human, and on the phone. I want to get on the phone and talk to a human and talk about it. And I want to be shown some empathy. I want to show them some empathy. I mean, that's super duper important to me. I know it's important to a ton of, especially as someone who's injured. They're already, really, really fragile emotionally from that.
Well, and Rob, I think it's still evolving. I mean, we're working on a couple of models now that are looking at predicting medical only claims that are going to flip to indemnity. Because if they're going to flip to indemnity, you really want to move it to a higher adjuster to start getting involved in that claim, to start managing that claimant earlier, right? The other models we're working on identification of claims that have a high probability of becoming litigated, because if they become litigated, they 2 to 3 times as costly. And again, I don't know that we can stop it, but it can provide information both the adjuster and the client. Maybe do we go into some earlier settlement negotiations, right, to settle this claim? Because if it goes to litigation, it's going to cost me twice as much as it does if it doesn't. So though that there's so many new ways to look at some of this data, I want to know, when is the appropriate time to add a nurse to a file, right? And again, when you look at these claims, you could see if a nurse was on it and what was the outcome. Okay. We also want to use it for our providers. I've got a torn rotacuff. Well, a rotacuff is different than a knee. And when we send someone to a clinician or a doctor, I want to try and direct that claimant to a doctor that gets great results for a rotacuff, right? And so we have the ability now, again, through this data, we're going to be able to identify those things earlier and direct the claimant to the best possible care solution.
Yeah, it really shows just so many complexities, so many different pathways that a claim could go down, right? The way it starts out may not be the way that it finishes the way you anticipate it. And I think of it as almost like a super triaging, right? Just, whatever that claim needs, you're able to manage it in the best way possible, just in terms of both, right? The adjusters that are on it, and then the medical professionals that are involved as well. Skip, I'm curious, thinking about the partnership part of this, right? What did I'm curious, like back in the old days, how much technology did you develop in-house versus acquire, from vendors? And then maybe how has that approach changed over time? Obviously your role is in strategic partnerships. That's different than just vendor management, right? So maybe you can talk a little bit about partnerships and how that's evolved over the years for you.
No, it's a great question. Again, we built our own old policy management system because we managed about, I'd say 50 or so self-insured groups or whatever, where we would actually do the underwriting, the policy issuance, we would do the whole thing. Okay. So we had a policy management system and we had a claims system. We are currently in the process of writing what I hope is a excellent underwriting and policy issuance product. We still have our own claims software applications, which we wrote in Agile technology. We rolled it out about a little over a year ago. Been very pleased with that. Everybody's moving from big racks of servers to cloud-based solutions. We've done that. We probably, between our internal staff and actually James's company provides about 20 or 30, maybe 40, I don't know, software folks that work under the guidance of our team. But we've probably, in our whole IT department, have close to 140, 150 employees. So it's a massive management. We have a priority list about this big of things we want to still accomplish and do. That there's so much in that space. There's only so much you can do, yourself. So it's really a combination of, I think, our process is, we like to try and build out, but we also have only so many resources that we have to where we have to find a strategic partner to assist us in a number of these projects.
Thank you, Skip, and really impressive to see how far the organization has come. Of course, how far the whole industry has come, and what people are doing now with AI and data. Just in the last couple minutes, I want to pivot this and close with a brief discussion on you personally, because you've been fighting a pretty big battle, and you have a lot of friends out in the industry, and you've been a leader in innovation and technology and in service and workers' comp and insurance, but you've also made a ton of friends, and you have a lot of people concerned because you've been fighting a pretty huge battle. This is your second time fighting a pretty huge battle with cancer for the last couple of years. just talk about what happened the last time you got cancer, and what the resolution there was, and what you're dealing with, whatever you're comfortable sharing, whatever you're dealing with now.
No, it's life. Quite honestly, 2007, I was diagnosed with stage 4 bone lymphoma. Heavy duty chemo at MD Anderson. I'm gonna put in a plug. If you have cancer, go to MD Anderson. They have the finest cancer research hospital in the country. The chemo just about killed me, but I came out the back end, did real well. 15 years later, I get diagnosed with called myelodysplastic syndrome, which is a blood cancer, which actually was caused by one of the chemo drugs I took in 2007. Now, those chemo drugs saved me for 15 years. So I can't be upset that I'm dealing with this now 15 years later. It's a daily battle. I have to do blood work constantly, but thank goodness for work, quite honestly. Work is a sort of a peaceful place where I can go and focus on other things other than my health issues. So, I still love getting up every day, going to work, solving problems, because it helps me focus on other things. I've put my cancer in the hands of MD Anderson and the Lord. And between the two of those, they're the ones in charge, and I just do what they tell me to do. So
you have crushed all of the original odds they gave you on the second round. I mean, it was
second round. They gave me 6 to 9 months to live, and here we are, 25 months later, and I'm doing well, and played golf yesterday, and still leading a full life. So you just can't give in, and you can't feel sorry for yourself. You just gotta put on your big boy pants and go after it.
Yeah, what I love is of course your positive attitude throughout this whole thing, and how you've continued to care for and love on everyone around you when really everyone wanted to be the one taking care of you, but also that you just kept working this entire time. I mean, you were fielding calls from your chemotherapy treatment room. You were fielding calls from MD Anderson. You were working on PowerPoints, and I was like, man, if you could take, but actually I've known you a long time, and I get it. I mean, this gives you, something else to focus on that's really productive and fun. You like work. It's interesting.
Yes, yeah. It is. And I get fulfilled. CCMSI is a great company. As you mentioned, we're in the top 100 ESOPs in the country. So we're a very close knit group of 1,900 employees, and we're all pulling in the same direction. Our goal is not to be the biggest TPA in the country. We just want to be the best, and we think we do a pretty damn good job of it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, Skip, thank you. I'm certainly super excited that you've been crushing all the original odds you were given, but also thankful for your continued involvement in the industry and at your company and everywhere else. So I appreciate that. And also, I know I join a lot of other people in thanking you for being such a great mentor to so many. So
appreciate it. All that means is I'm very old.
Well, you're older in years, but not in attitude at all. You have the energy level and work ethic of like a 24-year-old. So it has never ceased. And we're not going to disclose your actual age, but let's just say, he's got the work ethic and energy level of someone in their mid-20s, and so it's really awesome. So thank you for joining us for originally episode 2, and now. Thank you for joining us for this episode. It's been great to talk to you, and really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Really enjoyed talking with you and Rob. It was great today.
And Rob, thanks for joining as always.
Absolutely. Great conversation. Thanks for being on, Skip. Great to meet you, and glad to be part of this one, and glad you're doing well.
Yeah. Thank you.
And thank you to Listenerland for tuning in to geek out with our interview with Skip Brechtel from CCMSI. Be sure to catch Skip and me speaking at National Comp in Las Vegas on October 15th from 1 to 2 p.m. Pacific. We'll be discussing the Workers' Comp Balancing Act, efficiency versus ethics in AI. We both hope to see you there in Las Vegas. It's at the same time as InsurTech, as ITC. So same time, same building, same conference center. We're going to be there in Vegas. I cannot wait to see all of you there and hope you'll join us at that session. Again, thanks for joining us today. This has been the InsurTech Geek Podcast. The InsurTech Geek Podcast is all about technology that's transforming and disrupting the insurance world. I've been your host, James Benham, that's jamesbenham.com, with co-host Rob Galbraith at endofinsurance.com. We're taking you on a journey through insurance tech, so enjoy the ride and geek out.